so is there any advice that you could give us as Christians who love Israel, who travel to Israel? Is there something we can do to try to help this war that's going on all the time against Israel?
Well, I'll give you the advice I received from a great rabbi, the Lubavitcher Rebbe. When I first came to the UN, I went to see him, and he said to me, you're entering the house of light. That's how he called the United Nations. And he said, remember that in a hall of complete darkness, if you light one candle of truth, its precious light will be seen far and wide. So, and he said to me, your job is to speak the truth about Israel to the peoples of the world, which is what I've been trying to do alongside my other tasks. Because I think that the most important thing is to be armed with the truth and then to speak the truth before those who don't know the truth. Israel is maligned as an undemocratic state. It's the only democracy in a huge area. Israel is a beacon of human rights and democracy, of freedom, and in an area that always, in many ways, until recently, had very little of that. And Israel is fighting to protect itself against annihilation from Iran, but Iran would threaten everybody else. It would threaten America, it would threaten Europe, it would threaten America's allies in the Middle East. So Israel is there holding the fort. And sometimes this is maligned. We are said that we're colonists. We're in a strange land. We're not in a strange land. We're not the Belgians in the Congo or the Dutch in Indonesia. We're the Jews who come back to the Jewish land. When Jesus was there, he didn't overturn the money changers' tables in Tibet. He turned it into the Temple of Jerusalem, which was a Jewish temple. He was a Jewish rabbi. In fact, the common core, the common threads of Judaism and Christianity tell you that the fake history that people try to create, that we weren't there, that we are, we're recent interlopers, we came there only 100 years ago, that's completely false. We've been there from the time of the Bible. We were thrown out of our land, but we never lost hope to come back to Jerusalem. And in many ways, this was facilitated. And this is probably something your audience doesn't know, that the return of the Jewish people and the reestablishment of a Jewish nationhood in the land of Israel was helped enormously by Christian believers, by Christian Zionists over the centuries, and culminated in a tremendous efflorescence of Christian Zionists in the 19th century and 20th century, so that Israel's greatest allies in the world are evangelical Christians. Now, you know that in the United States, but I'm sure people don't know that. Same thing in Brazil, same thing in Nigeria, same thing in Korea, same thing in Scandinavia. And so I find this understanding of many Christian communities around the world who say, we know that your story is a parable for all humanity, that it shows that the biblical prophecies were realized, and that in your success, we have the success for all humanity. I find that that's the basic truth, the most important truth. We have come back to our land. We are resuscitating our future. We're protecting our people, but in so doing, we're protecting our common heritage. And I think people should just arm themselves with historical facts, but also light a candle for truth. Just light one candle for truth. Find a fact, tell your neighbors about it. That's millions and millions of candles.
There you go. So, if you don't know, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is the longest serving prime minister ever in Israel, 15 years, 5 at one time, 10 the second time, and actually they have elections on November 1st. He may actually be serving again, but he is a great friend to the church and so the reason I got to interview him was he actually called me personally and asked me to interview him. Because he just wrote his autobiography. And I'm going to tell you something that is probably going to shock you. Other than the Bible, this is the most exciting book I've ever read. And I've read a lot of books, and normally when I read a book, I get about a third, about halfway through, and I think, okay, I got it. And you're now using too many words, So, but not this book. And he put this in 6 to 10 page chapters. Like a chapter is 6 to 10 pages. So you can read a chapter in 10 minutes and before you go to bed at night. But it's his life story. And he was served in the special forces. It is, guys, you will love this book. So we have as many as we could get our hands on. It just came out this week. He sent me this is a pre-release copy. And, we have as many as we can in bookstore. We're going to get more next week, but you can still go on Amazon, wherever, and get the book. But if you want the book and you cannot afford it, then you go to our bookstore and we'll give it to you. All right? We'll take care of it because it is that. I believe if you don't have a love for Israel and the Jewish people, or you would like more of a love for Israel and the Jewish people, this book stirred up more of a love even than I have, and I've been going for over probably 30-something years now to the land of Israel. So please, I'm not a guy that just pushes books. I want to push truth, but this is absolutely fascinating, this book. So anyway, I had a great conversation with Prime Minister, and so it's wonderful. All right, we are continuing.